Welcome back, everybody. If you're new, my name's Nicholas, and this is Investing Against the Grain. It is very rare that you see a whole bunch of positive news stories and big monumental events happening for a company in a very finite period of time. And that's what we see happening with Tesla within the next few months. From right now, today, December 1st, to about, call it the end of March, we see tremendous news, tremendous things happening with Tesla. In today's video, we're going to unpack that a little bit, and it'll show you why I have essentially stopped buying Tesla shares and fully started buying Tesla option calls. Now, mind you, these are longer term calls, right? So I'm still very risk adverse when it comes to that and call options, but these are longer term calls. So we're talking about at the very bare minimum 8 months out. And so that's what we're going to talk about in today's video, and why, honestly, in my opinion, and none of this is advice, okay? None of this is investment advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't have a career in finance or anything. I'm an engineer. My day job's engineering. That's what I do. But this is a passion of mine, a hobby, if you will. Something that really drives me. I have a huge passion for it. But with that said, these 11 reasons we're going to go over are reasons why I think you would just have to be crazy not to be in Tesla right now. Whether you're a shareholder, whether you're talking about options, I think to not be in it is to be missing a very monumental period within Tesla. And I don't know if we're going to have another, series of events that happen, so quickly, all at once in such a finite amount of time. So that's what we're going to talk about today. As you can tell, I've got my iconic Black Manhattan right here. So, feel free to go get your own drink, mix it up, depending on what time of day. Maybe it's a Bloody Mary, maybe it's a mimosa, maybe you're going to partake in a Black Manhattan. Either way, cheers to you. Don't forget, we also have a new merch store. So if you want to buy any of our gear, any of our clothing, we've got some cool stuff. Check it out here. I have the links in the description below. And as always, don't forget, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that bell, and let's get into it. We have a lot to cover today, so I actually have some notes I wrote down. As you all know, I normally am very unscripted. I don't like scripting. I like to keep things very organic and off the top of the dome, if you will. But there's just too many things to cover here, so I figured I would just jot them all down and we can go over them. So, catalyst number one for reasons on why you would be insane not to be in Tesla in one way or another today is November China numbers. So November production delivery numbers out of China, out of Giga Shanghai. So we should be seeing those come out in the next few days. If October is any indication of literally anything, we know that Q4 is going to be a blowout quarter just with China alone. Okay, the rate that we saw October was just insane, and keep in mind that was the first month of the quarter, right? The first month of the quarter tends to be the slowest. We also understand that right now Tesla is trying to minimize this whole wave type way of producing and delivering vehicles. Instead, they're trying to flatten it out a little bit, but that's going to take time, okay? That's not just going to happen overnight in one quarter. And so really what we're going to see that's happen progressively over 2022 is where we'll really start to see the impacts of that. But with that said, I think these numbers are going to be huge. This will be the second set of numbers we have for the quarter. We have October numbers already. Now we'll get November numbers, and it'll really give us, it'll paint the story better for us as to what we can expect moving forward for the rest of the quarter and what we can expect for Q4 and ultimately for the full calendar year of 2021. So that's coming up here very soon. So that's the first main catalyst and the first one of these many reasons why I think you would be nuts not to be in Tesla today. Number two, and you know what? I do need a sip for this one. Number two, we've all heard about it. December 9th, 12/9. Now, I've made a couple of videos about this. We've talked about it. There's lots of stuff on Twitter. And who knows what's going to happen. In my last video, I seemed pretty adamant, I believe, that I think 12/9 had to do with the opening of Giga Berlin. But take a look at this real quick. Here's a series of tweets that we saw Elon Musk put out just the other day. The first one says, "I love a great wine." Now, notice how he spelled wine. What does that mean? Well, frankly, I have no idea. Then he tweets out just an angel emoji. What's that about? Again, I have zero idea. Then he tweets out splish splash, followed by just dropping off some friends at the pool. Now, the splish splash, dropping off friends at the pool, that seemed pretty clear that he was referring to, using the bathroom, being on the toilet. If you all remember, again, not too long ago, Elon tweeted that he does the majority of his tweets sitting on the porcelain throne, aka the toilet. Here's the weird thing, though. Gary Black tweeted this out last night, saying, still trying to figure out what Elon Musk meant by the tweets last night. Someone, Shorts, about to take a bath, splish splash, and complain vehemently, great wine, and then there's this angel. Other ideas? Right, so it just seemed very confusing. I think the same way we all felt, like, what does this mean? Elon's the king of, trying to tell us stuff without telling us, being very cryptic. He's a very analytical, deep thinker. So a lot of the stuff he says does come in riddles and puzzles, which personally I love. I'm a huge riddle guy, huge puzzle guy. We were all puzzled by this. We were all riddled by this. But then, the tinfoil hat himself, McLovin, came in. Check this out. So McLovin replies to Gary Black saying, pay attention now. Splish Splash zip code is 92109, 129. So, and then he linked the actual maps to it. So if you look up Splish Splash, it's actually in California. The zip code of Splish Splash is the actual place. I guess it's SeaWorld something. I don't know if it's a ride at SeaWorld, if it's the name of the park there. I really don't know. But if you look at the zip code, it says 92109. So if you add up 9, 2, and 1, that gives you 12. You got your 09. So again, I don't know if this 12-9 thing is anything. We've covered it ad nauseum at this point. There's just so much going on out there, but it is nothing to ignore. It is nothing to ignore at this point. And I'll give you one more. And this one actually hasn't been talked about by anyone, but I do think this is another thing that could add to it or be an entire different point, right? This could be something completely different, which is kind of coincides with my point number 3, which would be Company X. Let's take a look at this. Randomly, Elon decided to comment on a very old tweet. And the tweet was essentially about Elon explaining why they are not taking SpaceX public. And there's many reasons in there, but he talks about, the plight and issues that Solar City and Tesla have to go through, and why that really wouldn't work out for SpaceX. And just, he talks about the reasons, right? The reasons why SpaceX is not public today. And that was a while ago, right? This letter was written 8 years ago. And then Elon just randomly decides to comment on this, saying, a lot has happened in 8 years. Now, again, just more speculation going on, right? What does this mean? Does this mean SpaceX is going to go public? Who knows? If it goes public, how is it going to go public? Does it mean that Elon's going to just make a conglomerate called Company X? We've all talked about that for a while. I mean, we already saw Tesla buy Solar City, right? Maybe he's going to make an umbrella company that has SpaceX. It's got Tesla, Solar City, Boring Company, Neuralink, right? On and on. That could be very well maybe something's happening. But I said this is point number 3, mainly because we don't know what this means, right? This is just another catalyst. Now, granted, so far the 12-9 and this Company X thing, maybe those aren't real points to own Tesla, but I'm going to get to some more solid reasons why you should own it. But these are the more fun ones. I just want to get them out of the way. But to go back to the 12-9, notice the time that Elon tweeted this. He tweeted this at 1:36 p.m. Now, keep in mind, I live on the East Coast. So this, for Elon, would have been 12:36 p.m. In other words, 12-9. Think about that. Now, I haven't heard anybody else mention that or notice that. Not saying they haven't. I'm sure McLovin has something somewhere out there already calling this out. But just another weird coincidence. Okay? So that's it for the 12-9 stuff. No more conspiracy theory. All right, I'm taking my tinfoil hat off. Let's move on. Let's go to point number 4. So as we all know, Elon Musk has been selling 10% of his shares. All right. And this is based off the Twitter poll, all that yada, yada, yada. You guys know the story. I'm not going to rehash all of that for you. But what we've noticed is that based on the SEC Form 4 filings, which any insider that sells must file, Elon himself has not been selling any more shares that weren't premeditated. In other words, by the 10 10.5B, 10.4B, I forget what form it is. In other words, a sell that was planned a while back. Now, the only reason Elon would stop selling shares himself and only have these type of sells going on would be if he had some material insider information. And so let's rehash what actually happened. Elon announced the 10% sell potential, right? The Twitter poll went out. Twitter poll said yes. Elon, the following week, started selling. Not only did we see the premeditated sales, but we also saw Elon selling himself. Now, after about a week and a half, we saw that stop. After that, the only thing we saw was happening were the premeditated sales. And so the question became brought up by Gary Black, why is this happening? Why is he all of a sudden not selling? Well, Gary Black theorized that if he became aware of some material information, then he would no longer be allowed to continue to sell his shares that weren't planned ahead of time, that were already premeditated. And so this started to lead to speculation about what's going on with Giga Berlin. Okay, at that time, we were starting to get some rumors. We knew that the whole petition was ending and coming to a drawdown. And then what we talked about in my last video, right? Then we saw these rumors and these stories coming out that Giga Berlin is set to get their final approval in the coming days. And that's why I started to say that I believe the 12/9 event is the opening of Giga Berlin or the approval of Giga Berlin. So that, to me, is catalyst number 4. Okay, the fourth reason why you'd be insane not to be in Tesla right now is the opening of Giga Berlin. Okay, and I think there's a lot of things hinting at this is imminent, that it's going to happen. I think it'll start production in December. I think approvals will happen clearly in December, production starting, with delivery set for January. So this is number 4 why I think you'd have to be insane not to be in Tesla today. Reason number 5. Reason number 5 is Giga Austin. For those of you who aren't aware, Tesla and Giga Austin went ahead and submitted a whole bunch of pre-approvals to go ahead and start production at Giga Austin, right? So we saw the paint shop, we saw the main line, right? All these things were put out. They paid about $1 billion in permitting fees just to get these approvals. And normally these take a while, but just the other day, we got final review completed on all of those permits. So what does that mean? We don't really know. But up until this point, I wasn't really planning on Giga Austin coming online and starting production till January. So with this timeline, we may actually get Giga Austin online and producing in December with potential deliveries in January. So this is major, okay? So even if it's backed off by a month, even if production does start in January, as I had previously estimated in my other videos, and Berlin starts in December, I mean, just think about this. We're going to be bringing on a potential to have more than 100% capacity with the manufacturing plants. All right, so this is monumental. This is a very big deal, and I still don't think Wall Street realizes what's about to happen. Okay, Berlin's about to awaken. Austin's about to awaken. These factories are bigger than Fremont, are bigger than Giga Shanghai. Giga Shanghai, which is essentially almost at a 1 million vehicle run rate. I believe Giga Shanghai came out to a run rate of about 800,000 vehicles. So that was based off October numbers. We'll see what happens in November and December. It's potential that Giga Shanghai is at a 1 million vehicle per annum rate. And keep in mind, Berlin and Austin are bigger and are going to be more efficient. All right, like this is insane, insane. So that's number 5. That's the next catalyst that might actually happen in such a short time. Moving on to number 6, semi-delivery to Pepsi. Now, this may not seem like a big deal, especially because, the rumor is it's only be a small handful of semis being delivered to Pepsi. But keep in mind, this will be the first actual electric semi out there. It will be Tesla essentially testing it with Pepsi to kind of get the kinks out and everything. But the bigger part here is that we actually will have a delivery. Okay, so these are produced out of Nevada. So I think this will be a big deal. We've already seen some of the mega chargers in locations. There's been a permit pulled by Pepsi to have a mega charger installed at one of their facilities. So it seems like this is a go. It seems like this is happening. But I just think about the publicity alone of seeing Tesla semis out on the road. Okay, that's going to have a major impact. And I think, well, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I'll mention more about this in a little bit here. Let's move on to number 7. Number 7, we have Q4 production and delivery numbers from Tesla. After December ends, Q4 for Tesla will be over. And then what normally happens is in the first few days, call it maybe a week most of January, we will get the total tally for what Tesla delivered for vehicles. And they may even give production numbers, but normally it's at bare minimum deliveries. Now, keep in mind, these numbers are very flexible, right? It's not a final count. It is an estimate. Normally, by the time the earnings report happens, we do see these numbers tick up a little bit. But this, we already know, right, based on how October went, this is going to be a massive, massive quarter. If we see November Shanghai numbers and we see those even greater than what we saw for October, or even on par, all right, that's going to give us a huge indication of what's to come with the total Q4 numbers. And so once we get those delivery numbers, what that means is people like myself, analysts, we can all start inputting those into our models, and we can start really forecasting and predicting what we think the Q4 numbers will look like. And so that's going to be major, because at that point, we're going to see record profits, revenues, gross margin. I mean, it's just record all down the spreadsheet. Okay, it's just going to be insane. And once those numbers come out, that's going to be yet another catalyst. So we're probably going to be riding the Shanghai numbers, right, into whatever 12.9 is, into Giga Austin or Berlin, into the other one, Berlin or Austin. And then don't forget, once those start producing, that's going to be another big announcement. Once they start delivering, right? These are like sub reasons to have this, right? These aren't even included in my numbers here, but if Berlin starts production, well, what happens when they first start delivering? That's going to be another big announcement, right? This is all in such a finite amount of time. Like, this is just insane. Okay, let's move on to number 8. All right, so number 8 is the idea that Elon Musk will complete his selling of his 10% of his shares. So let's say that Elon stopped selling shares on his own that weren't premeditated, because he did come across some material information. And let's say that material information was Giga Berlin or Giga Austin, or both of them opening. All right. Once that happens, well, then Elon can continue to sell. And odds are, if he is concerned at all about tax implications, that he'll go ahead and try to finish off that 10% sell this year in calendar 2021. Now, keep in mind, if we go off the 17 million, assuming 17 million shares is what we're doing the 10% off, he's at about 54% sold. Now, that might have changed. I haven't seen any of the Form 4 filings for today or yesterday on Tesla's investor page, but we'll take a look. Odds are Mondays and Tuesdays, it looks like that they've been exercising some shares, and that's when things have been selling as well. So we'll take a look at that, but holistically, it looks like we're about 54% of the way there. So he may complete it. And if we find out that Elon is done selling completely, well, all that downward pressure in the stock is going to be removed. And keep in mind, the stock is so resilient right now. All right, Elon's been selling, and we are sitting here at what, $1,144 a share. This is incredible, right? The stock has barely been affected about this. That just shows the amount of demand out there for the stock, for the company, and how much belief there is in the company, right? Everything's getting eaten up. All right, number 9, and this one is probably the furthest away as far as a catalyst, and this is the China expansion. So China is planning on expanding Giga Shanghai. All right, they're going to put in some more money, they're going to hire more people, but this is set to be complete in April. All right, and what's being rumored or forecast is that with this expansion, Giga Shanghai will officially be a 1 million to 1.5 million vehicle gigafactory. All right, so that's massive. That's just going to add more to it. And the beautiful thing about this is that the expansion is going to be so quick. It's going to happen so fast that we will probably see an immediate benefit of it in 2022. So this isn't going to be like a Giga Shanghai or Giga Berlin or Giga Austin. We're waiting, a whole year and a half to actually bear fruit from this investment. No, we're going to see an immediate ROI on this. So this is exciting. I think we'll start to really notice this in the second half of 2022. So keep an eye out for that. But just the announcement that they start, the announcement that the expansion has completed, odds are it'll be completed ahead of time, just because that's how China tends to work. China's just absolutely unreal. All right, so that was number 9. All right, we're getting close to the end here. So number 10, Q4 earnings. All right, if you don't think Q4 earnings are going to be massive, then I don't know where you've been. I don't know what you've been looking, what research you've been doing, but Q4 earnings are going to be insane, right? Tesla has beaten quarter after quarter after quarter, all right? And this is going to be their biggest quarter. And keep in mind, this will be probably their last quarter without Berlin or Austin. So that just sets the precedence for the following, all right? They are on a mission here. Tesla is trying to crank these vehicles out, but they're also not trying to get into this whole wave game. And I know that has some people spooked. They're trying to moderate the way they go about deliveries. They don't want to spend a lot of money to hurry and expedite vehicles to locations to get in the hands of drivers. Why? They've looked at the numbers. At the end of the day, what tends to happen is they burn their people out. They spend all this extra money to get things in at the last month, at the very end of the quarter, just to slack off at the beginning of the next quarter. And it's not so much that people are slacking off, but it's you get burnt out, and after you push that hard, especially at the end of a quarter, you need a breather. So what Elon wants people to do, what he wants his employees to do, is he wants them to take a step back, forget about quarterly results, forget about being a publicly traded company, right? Instead, just do the right thing, do what's best for the company, be the most efficient, save as much money as you can, reduce costs, and just proceed. Because the net result isn't really benefiting the company on a holistic perspective, and it's not benefiting any of the employees. Okay, that's not something you see too often from a CEO. So I really admire that about Elon. Okay, so for this next one, I have to take a drink. So grab your drink, take a sip, because this, I think, may be what really sets Tesla off in the coming months. Ooh, that's good. Elon recently replied to a tweet that said, "Can we get a legit Cybertruck update? It's been about 2 years after all." Elon responds, "Oh man, this year has been such a supply chain nightmare and it's not over. I will provide an updated product roadmap on the next earnings call." This might be a very big deal. Hear me out. I don't anticipate him announcing any new products. I don't anticipate him talking about the 25,000 vehicle. I don't anticipate any of that. Here's what I anticipate. If by the time he's on the Q4 earnings call, which will be the end of January, keep in mind right now we're essentially in December 1st, so that's about 2 months away. What's going to happen that 2 months? Berlin should be up and running. Austin should be up and running. Shanghai should be underway with their expansion. What Elon might talk about is, okay, 4680 battery, Kato, we're good to go. All right, the factories are being built in Berlin and Austin. They're actually underway. The battery portions are underway. We're going to get that going as soon as they're ready. 4680 set to go. Now that Austin's built, we can go ahead and start with the Cybertruck. Now that Austin's done, we can go ahead and get going with the Roadster. Now that Austin's done, we can go ahead and get started on the Semi. All right, I think that might be where he's going with this, saying, look, guys, we haven't had a place to build all of these products. Okay, we haven't been able to do anything with the Roadster. We haven't been able to do anything with the Cybertruck. And we sure as hell haven't been able to do anything with the 4680 because all we have is Kato. But now Berlin's going to be done. Austin's going to be done. Now, when I say done, I just mean that they're going to be live and they're going to be producing vehicles. I believe that these factories are going to continue to grow and grow and grow, right? I don't think that they're going to just sit there and be complacent. Look at Shanghai. Look how that keeps growing, right? Fremont, same thing. I think what they try to do, what Tesla tries to do, is strategically find a good place, a good region where they can buy more land and where they can easily expand. Because once they have the supply chain close and local, well then, I mean, at that point, everything is just, downhill from there. It's just very easy for them. So all they have to do is expand their footprint within that area. So I think that Elon being on this call is for a reason. Elon was not on the last a quarterly earnings call. Elon has said that he doesn't want to be on these anymore, that he doesn't need to be on them, right? It's essentially a waste of his time. But for some reason, he's choosing to be on this one. Now, sure, maybe it's just because it's Q4, it's the end of the year, right? It's to give kudos to everybody, all that good stuff, right? That we expect and we always see from Elon. But the fact that he's talking about here about giving an updated product roadmap on the next earnings call, I have to believe that this has to do with the fact that Austin and Berlin will be up and running, and that now he has a place to actually produce all of the roadmap, all the products that they've talked about. Again, the 4680 battery, the Semi, the Cybertruck, the Roadster, right? These can actually start to happen. And who knows? Maybe he does drop a bomb about the $25,000 vehicle, which leads me into the tail end of this video. But before we do that, one more sip. Okay, so we talked about essentially 11 catalysts that we see happening within really the next 2 months. Okay, and all this is in such a finite amount of time. It's going to generate a whole bunch of buzz, a whole bunch of news, a whole bunch of, just I have to be in the stock. And that's why I've been buying call options so aggressively instead of stocks. Now, with that said, there's a lot of stuff I didn't talk about. For example, I mentioned Berlin opens. Okay, well, when Berlin opens, sure, that's one announcement, right? But once we start seeing vehicles being delivered from Berlin, that's another announcement. Same goes for Austin. But what else haven't we really talked about? Well, we haven't talked about the infrastructure bill that was passed, Biden's infrastructure bill. Well, that's going to be a very big benefit for Elon and Tesla as far as building out their supercharging network. So that's going to have, major effects. We also haven't really talked about the Build Back Better plan. Now, is this going to happen? Frankly, I don't think it's going to happen. But if it does, well, I don't think it's going to happen in this year, right? There's a lot of hurdles, a lot of obstacles. Manchin is just very adamantly seems to be against it for inflation reasons, for the union credits. There's a lot of things in there that I think they're going to have a tough time getting it passed in the Senate. But with that said, let's say it does get passed. Well, that's going to be a $8,000 credit to anybody who purchases a Tesla. Now, sure, it won't be the $12,000 credit if the union part of it sticks, but still, $8,000. I mean, that's incredible. Okay, so that's still going to be a huge boon for Tesla. So then we also haven't talked about the $25,000 vehicle. Now, I think this $25,000 vehicle is going to be announced in 2022 or at the end of this year. All right. So Elon a while ago hinted many different ways on when he would talk about the $25,000 vehicle. And the way I interpret it, it was for the end of 2021, but who knows? It'll probably be 2022, and in my mind, with production in 2023. We also haven't spoken about the 4680 battery. Now, I get it. Like this seems to have gone off the radar for a lot of people. Probably not you, but a lot of other people I speak to. It seems like we talk about Tesla, and all I hear from them saying, "Oh, I missed the move. Oh, I missed the move." Well, I've been hearing I missed the move pre-split. I've heard I missed the move post-split. I've heard I missed the move after we passed $1 trillion, and now I'm still hearing I've missed the move. Right, people, you haven't missed the move. These are early days in Tesla. We're just getting started. The company has only been profitable for a short amount of time. They're just finishing Austin and Berlin. Shanghai is expanding. This is so early on. And more importantly, 4680 batteries aren't even out yet. Why is that a big deal? Because that drops down the cost of the most expensive part of the vehicle, the battery. 4680 batteries, according to Drew and Elon, should reduce the cost of the battery by 50%. Think about the margins. Tesla already has insane margins, all right, automotive margins. This is just going to accelerate that even more. So 4680 is a huge, huge deal. And then finally, FSD beta. This thing is just getting more and more insane, all right? At this point, we're at 10.5. It seems for a lot of people, 10.5 was a step change. I highly, highly, highly recommend you all watch Frenchie's videos on 10.5. He goes through Chicago. Very impressive. Very impressive. I watch everybody's. Chuck Cook recommend. Frenchie recommend. Kim Parquet recommend. Rob Maurer has been doing them lately. Holmar's catalog. I mean, it just goes on. Dirty Tesla. man, there's just such great content out there. You have to check it out. So those are the reasons. I mean, that's in reality, that's about 15, 16 different things that could potentially happen within the next 2 to 3 months. And that is why I've been buying call options. Normally I'm not a big options person, but I've just never seen so many catalysts in such a small, finite period of time that it just seems insane not to try to get as much exposure as I can. And the reality is, in order to make the dollar go even further, options are the best way to do that. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with options, and again, just to level set once again, as I did in the beginning, none of this is investment advice. I'm just an engineer. I'm just sharing my story, my journey with all of you. But with that said, when it comes to options, the biggest thing that you really want to be wary of that bites a lot of people who are new to options, it's theta, it's time decay, right? Pick a far, far out date. If you are interested in options, that would be my recommendation. But that's my plan. That's what I'm doing. At the end of the day, any profits I make from options, I will end up buying shares with that, right? That's essentially what the cycle will be. But all right, so again, thank you if you stuck to the end. Hopefully none of this seemed too much tinfoil hat-ish to you guys, a little too conspiracy theory. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you guys had a nice drink to enjoy with me. I appreciate you guys sticking to the end. Don't forget, we got a merch store. Check it out if you're interested. Also, don't forget, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that bell. I love you all. Have a good day. Cheers.